I'm super excited. I have an amazing panel of guests today. They're going to share some wealth of knowledge from a lot of different types of experience, but all focused obviously in the med spa industry. So we're going to kick it off and go down the line, just give a quick intro and give some of your guys' background.
My name is Patrick Hammonds. I am the CEO and owner of The Injection Room. We have three locations, two in San Antonio, Texas, and one in Austin. Interestingly enough, my background is really focused on real estate. I've been a realtor for 17 years, and then I became a business coach exceeded in that field at a high level. And more importantly, I developed five real estate teams across the country. I stepped in 6 years ago to help my wife out with her growing med spa for 2 weeks and never left. Now I barely do real estate, like what is that? So.
I'm Cheyanne Thurston. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at Foundrié. I actually started with the company when they only had one location. Started as executive assistant, worked my way up really closely with the founder, and I oversee daily operations, marketing. We just opened our 70th location, and we will end the year at 100.
My name is Hemphill. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a podcast called the Millionaire podcast. If you guys haven't tuned in, please do. It's one of the most well-known podcasts in the industry. We focus on business acumen, mindset, tech stacks, really what it takes to run a very effective med spa like a business. I founded a company called Growth 89, sold it to a strategic investor group. We had roughly 2,000 clients on it. And now I'm here to help out as many practice owners as I can.
I love it. So you guys have all built from the ground up in different aspects. There's been so many shifts and changes in the industry. We have so many trends and flows. What do you guys think is the fundamental difference about the med spa client today versus, let's say, 5 years ago?
Lord, I'll jump right in there. This is something that we work on in our practice with our injectors on a daily basis. The clients, our patients now, they're way more knowledgeable than they ever have been, and they're becoming more knowledgeable each and every day because, of course, the wealth of information that's on social media. Now, when I say knowledgeable, does that mean they know more than our injectors? Well, I hope not, but the biggest impact that's had on our practices in a negative way is we had some patients walking out because I had some newer injectors that they knew their stuff, and yet they're still getting nervous because the patients are coming in and they have so much information, but just enough to be dangerous, you know? So we had to really drill down and work on education, the importance of that education process in the consult, and making sure that you know more than they think they know, so that way they're not walking out of a consult and going down the road to somebody else that can talk the talk, but not necessarily walk the walk with the needle. So very important.
And I think piggybacking off that is just access in general. They're not only seeing the client experience in the 2 shops that they got to experience in town, they're watching the experience of 5 different spots across the country and comparing that. So the experience is no longer this nice to have, it's this need to have, and you're getting consistency blasted on a bigger scale like you haven't seen before.
Cheyanne, I think your perspective on the client experience and being able to keep that scaling from obviously being with Foundrié from 1 location to 70 and now up a lot more. How do you guys keep client experience consistent, top of mind, while still being able to scale so fast and being a franchise?
It's definitely not easy. The first thing that I would say is the partners and the people that you're working with. So this goes for us with franchisees. The franchisee that's coming in with the excitement about the brand and they're so hungry to be a part of what we're doing always does better than the franchisee that's just coming in because they like the financials. This goes for a manager or an employee, right? The ones that are there because they're really excited about what you're doing do better, and they're easier to help you make that client experience scalable than just the one that maybe you picked it because your spa's closer to their house, right? So I think that's the foundational aspect, is picking the right people to partner with, and then getting really clear on the why and the with them. So every single part of our experience has a super clear why. The scent we put in store, the product placement, why we recommend things at checkout, knowing that they're super clear on that, then what's in it for them, right? Making it beneficial for them and the business. And then the last thing, inspect what you expect. So I always recommend you do an audit to your business. You become a member, you follow that entire client journey through at different locations and making sure that you're catching where things are snagging and pivoting in the moment back to that education component with the why.
I think that's a really good point of the audit system and the secret shopping, the seeing the client experience. Kim, I feel like you see that from the technology side of things and you go through that of what is the client experience from when they book on the website, what are the nurture campaigns they get. What does an effective tech stack actually look like in a successful practice?
That's a good question. I think that we should look at it from a business standpoint. So you could have the best tech stack in the world, right? You could have front-facing tech, the best website, the best SEO, the best ads, the best social media. Where is it warehoused? It has to be warehoused inside of a CRM system, and then it has to be warehoused inside of your patient record system, right, which is your EMR. So it's built on pillars. You have the foundation, which is your EMR, that's your patient record. That's where you have online booking, your charting, everything that takes place within that nucleus. But this doesn't grow the practice, right? So then you turn on the marketing engine, the leads come in, where do they go? They have to go to a CRM, automatically follows up with the systems, follows up with the individuals, you know where they are. So then you have marketing, you have the record database, but what about the tracking? The attribution. Are your leads actually working? Are they converting? Do you know what your cost per leads are, your customer acquisition cost? So you have to combine it all together. The problem is the industry is still pretty fragmented. So you have to have 4 or 5 different tool sets and combine them all together with APIs, connectivity. Again, if you have the tech stack, the marketing engine, where's the hub though, right? The hub is having the right people, the right KPIs, the right trackers, the right sales training, because you could have the best tech stack, but if you don't have the right people with the key performance indicator trackers, the individuals that actually have performance-based income, understand what your P&Ls are, your numbers, and then how you expand on that is now everybody's getting into GLPs, everybody wants to have peptides, hormone replacement therapy. So I've been in the space for 10 years, and I see there's a lot of legacy aesthetics. Botox, injectables, 60-70% of all the revenue is coming from injectables. Well, now everybody wants to get into peptides, and how do you manage that, which is another system. So you have to connect them all together. It's still really challenging, but at the same time, none of it works unless you have a solid team to know your numbers.
Yeah, I think that's understanding your actual numbers is obviously one of the most important pieces of being successful long term. What do you guys look at, whether it's weekly, monthly? What are KPIs or metrics that are non-negotiables to keep a pulse on?
Gosh, so I always get stuck between both of the R's, revenue and retention. And I think over the last couple of years, I've realized just how important retention is. Cam just said is some of the metrics that you really do want to look at, especially keeping your margins tight, right, is consumer acquisition cost. And I've learned now that as we're working on getting those averages down, retention is the best way to do it, because I'm actually repeat marketing to our existing patients is a lot cheaper. Utilizing y'all's system and shooting out text and email campaigns, sometimes at the last minute, we're not always booked, we might want to do like a flash sale or special, something like that. But we're able to pivot and do that, and that costs a lot less than doing a whole new marketing campaign, upping our SEO, working with Google, working with Meta, how many dollars are we throw behind this, 50,000 this month, 60,000 this month. I've noticed with our new patient acquisition, we've got this number that I'm always trying to work down. Like I can get it down to $40, sometimes it's $80 of making those adjustments. But gosh darn it, it's next to free when I get them through a text campaign to an existing patient. So retention, keep them coming back and keep them in the books.
I would echo retention, and for us, we've seen that retention past visit 3 is really where you're going to see that return on your acquisition cost, which is really important to look at, so you don't have that leaky funnel. So in terms of broader scale profitability with retention, I'm looking at how long can I get them, because after 3, it's going to take a lot less work to get them coming back forever.
Yeah, I can build on that too. I think, if you were to analyze your practice, depending on how many providers you have, treatment rooms, revenue per hour is extremely important to understand. Especially if you're a single provider and you want to hire other providers. How many treatment rooms do you have? What is your utilization rates? How much are they bringing in? And if you don't understand those numbers, let's say you were the key provider, and you're gonna go potentially sell the business at some point, right? There's always an expiration date. You wanna build enterprise value. Well, there's key man risk there, right? So you have to get, if you're gonna go hire other providers, you have to get their RPH, revenue per hour, just as high as yours or even higher if you wanna pull back, right? So industry standard should be over $1,000 per hour for a provider, right? And so if you have 6 treatment rooms and only half of those are running, that half of that engine is running, I look at it like a piece of real estate where you can go buy a fourplex, but if half the tenants are vacant, then really you have real estate that's sitting there. So every hour should be sold, right? So that's something that I've seen that's very important to track is the RPH and how many hours are we selling and how to get those efficiencies up.
I love the RPH. It actually has really kind of hindered me. And I just got to the esthetician side of the business in the last 24 months. And it's just, I could not justify the cost of these lasers and then a $250 treatment that takes 45 minutes. And I'm like, that RPH is not working for me. And yet, we've done it now. Yeah. I don't love it, but I don't love it, but I do want to keep our estheticians happy. And I'll tell you, the only reason we brought that in is to keep our patients sticky, because we were referring out to our community to get facials and some laser resurfacing. It was like only 3, but I had 3 that came back and got some pretty botched lips from a different med spa. And they're like, well, we went and we found this other esthetician place. They had best, so they grouped us into a package. And why don't you just stay here? You can do all of it here. And I'm like, okay, never again. We also do that here now, but so not a fan. Not a fan. Love the injectors.
Yeah, I think when we look at the consumer in med spas is the biggest thing that people miss is the retention and the loyalty. Like everyone talks about new client acquisition, how can I get more leads, how can I get more in my funnel, but really that doesn't matter if you're not retaining them. It's filling a leaky bucket and you're just spending a lot of money on new leads. I'm interested to hear, Patrick, specifically for injection room. Training and education of staff is something that you guys focus on really heavily, and I think that's one of the kind of groundworks for having a good client experience. Do you guys see kind of a relationship between investing in that staff training and the client experience and retention?
Big time. It's the most important thing. So several years ago, I noticed that patients were coming in and they had booked lips and they left with lips. Over and over and over, rinse and repeat. It was great and we were happy. And then I started looking at our ticket average and I'm like, how do we get that up? So I actually, after building rapport, and I say years ago, this is when I came into the business, like what can I fix, how can I help, what can I bring to the table? I became one of the girls, so I got on the phone, learned, patients were coming out, I'm like, girl, let me see those lips. Oh my God, your husband is gonna love those. And I'm like, come on. So after I got that comfortability, because like my wife was really worried about it. She had a big woman-owned practice, women. And she's like, what are you gonna do, masculine, straight guy in my practice, you know? But they embraced me. So then I got the courage to go into the rooms and listen to some of what I'll call the sales portion, and yet it's really the consult. So we'll talk about education here with this conversation. 10 minutes in the room, I realized that they were just coming in for the lips and getting the lips. There was no education. So when I say education, I don't even necessarily mean the procedure itself or the injector explaining G primes this and all the science that, because you can't explain it like a 5-year-old. I mean, your patient's out the door, or at the very least they're bored. But educating them and having a really in-depth consult and then talking about what can be done and not selling them. As soon as you're selling over educating, you've already lost. But really tailoring that consultation, have a full-out treatment plan in the first time. Because then many patients, while they had lips in mind, they're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know about that, or I didn't understand the facial balancing aspect of this. And actually, I am willing to do 2,100 today instead of 600. Or at very least, if it's not that day, they have a 6-month treatment plan already outlined. They know what they're gonna do, they've earmarked their money, they're budgeting for it now, and they're actually coming back in more frequently to finish out that whole treatment plan. So educating them on what they can do, their facing bodies to achieve like their goals. Big deal, and it's really helped the practice. And I love my injectors to reach their financial goals, so it's really helped them to reach their goals with less bookings actually. Our practice is only open 32 hours a week, so we want to maximize it.
Yeah, I think that's, as someone who was a provider at one time, I think there is such a deeper connection between really understanding how to facilitate effective education to a client and what that means for your own compensation. And I think that while we don't want to just say, hey, we're going to pay you if you sell a shit ton of product, like you're going to make a bunch of money, but you teach them how to apply that to what the patient or the client's coming in for to help them really fully give a full circle client experience and deliver on what the client needs. If you guys had to say, what is one area that practices leave money on the table or an opportunity to increase profit margins?
For us, this is something that we're dealing with right now. I'm always going to be brutally honest. We really ramped up our skincare sales several years ago, and I was so excited because we're about a $10 million practice right now, revenue-wise, and so 10% of that was skincare. For some reason, 1% of that is skincare now, and I, again, had to go back in, some reason, do the audit. They just weren't talking about skincare. There's no conversation about what are you using now to maintain the money that you just put into your face, what are you doing to enhance that or keep that look going? You just spent $1,400, what's another $180 for this or that? Or even just selling some damn sunscreen when it's summertime, These are the things, but that's I think was an opportunity to fix, and we're actually working on that again. 'Cause I'm like, why are we losing it? What are you guys doing? But,
I'll build on that too. I have a practice that I'm working with in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Great brand, incredible providers. And we're spending 10% of the revenues coming in to marketing. So if they're doing $1 million, we're spending 10% of the revenue. That's going to marketing and generating the leads. Well, we found out that the leads are not converting at 70%. We'd like them to convert at 70 or plus. Why are they not converting? And it was having to do with staff, right? Speed to lead, staff, tech, and the staff just didn't care as much as the owners did, right? So we had to re-engineer the performance-based income. So that was a good exercise we did was, and I see this a lot, is you'll have the front desk person or staff, all that money you're spending is going to that individual, and we're not paying them appropriately. Or you're paying them $10 an hour, 15, 20, maybe give them a bonus. But if you tie performance-based compensation to the conversion metrics, or maybe to the number of reviews, social media shares, we saw a big spike when we started actually paying them appropriately.
Within our stores, I think I found that it's pretty simple, and it's similar to what Patrick touched on, is leading with education. There's so much the client doesn't know. They come in because they think they want XYZ, but really they need this gamut. It's pretty easy to get them to do that just by explaining and educating them, but that really comes down to training your staff members and making sure they feel confident to do that. And going back to with them and compensation appropriately, why should they even do that, and what benefit is for them?
Yeah, and even say on the compensation for the injectors as well. A lot of times I just see it's a flat fee across the board, or it's a certain amount per hour, and there should be performance-based compensation on that as well, based on production. And so we would start to tier it. Once they hit $50,000 a month in production, they were set to get incremental bonuses every $5,000, and it just kept them in the game longer, and we saw production go way up.
yeah, we do the incremental thing too. And that front desk thing, I hope you guys didn't miss that. That's huge to me. We pay our front desk commission on skincare sales, and it was big to me because I'm in Texas. We have our economy, right? I just felt terrible. I still do at what front desk gets paid. We turn that into a deeper conversation, like what is $20 at 10%? That's $2, right? So if you're making $20 an hour, now you're making $22 an hour. If you just sell a little sunscreen an hour, like what did that do to your income? That for them, that's a big increase. So that actually helps that conversation, and they're doing very well right now with that.
And I think with the compensation, you look at it as, how do we build this into a career for people? Not just someone's summer job, right? How do we make Front Bar give them more opportunities to sell, to create this career for themselves through different structures?
Yeah, it makes them feel part of the team. Makes them feel part of the engine, the entire team that you're driving them forward. Another story too is we have membership sales in the practice that I have in Maple Grove. And I live in Florida. I consult the practice up there. I'm a fractional CEO. And, you know, one of the things that we were looking at was our membership sales. Where are they growing? You know, because we talk about them. We educate in the treatment room. But that last touch when they're leaving the practice, there was no incentive, right? So we started bringing an incentive behind the actual membership sales and the compensation structure in the front desk. And the front desk now is selling 20, 30, 40 a month. And before, just a couple months ago, it was like flat, 5, 10. And so just a double click on the performance-based comp and really looking at that, like they care, they want that extra reward. They like the accolade, they like to, you know, feel part of the team. And, you know, we saw revenues go up, you know, 6 figures just by reconstructing the compensation structure.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about that. You said the word reward, and I have an injector that makes, I don't know, $350,000 a year in South Texas, which is basically being a millionaire. And she was like bothered because I was like not honoring her, and I'm like, I thought your money was honored. And she's like, no, I just want like an award. And I'm like, oh, okay. So now I give her little trophies all the time. She's like, super happy and producing more. And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I think when I managed a team, I would always ask or figure out what each individual employee liked in terms of recognition. Some people love public accolades, they love being shouted out in a team meeting. Other people can't stand it and it makes them uncomfortable and they're like, no, just give me some money and like give me some paid time off. That's perfect. So you can figure out kind of, okay, this personality type, she wants this type of accolade. Whereas maybe another esthetician who's a little bit shy doesn't want that. Okay, we'll give you a bonus, we'll give you, you know, a week paid time off if you hit this quarterly metric. So I think that's something really important, is to tailor the way that you lead the team to a little bit more of an individualistic level.
Yeah, when I was younger, I loved the rah-rah. Now I just pat myself on the back when I look at my bank account, so.
Yeah.
We like the bank account.
Yeah, can't deny that. Awesome, well, we have a couple minutes left. You guys, this is a very amazing group of people to ask questions for, so I want to open it up to the audience if you guys have any questions for our panelists.
And if you don't, I just feel like we did a good job.
Yeah, if you don't, that means we killed it.
I have a question. You said you would incentivize your front desk staff to sell product and you give them, you know, some sort of commission.
Yeah.
How do the estheticians feel and how do you decide who gets what commission? Like
Gosh.
my estheticians would be very
Love that
upset.
question. This has arisen on numerous occasions in my practice, these greedy little greeters. So our esthetician and my policy, and it's really, one of my 3 practices is really the only one that has this issue. So if the patient gets to the front desk and the esthetician has not walked them out with said product or grabbed it off the shelf, it's pretty clear that they did not close that sale. And so the front desk knows to just ask, like, hey, you consider this, and that has removed it, has made it a policy. If you didn't sell it, you didn't sell it, you know, it's as simple as that.
We do the same exact thing. It's very black and white. If they bring you and they drop you off at the front bar and the sale isn't closed, then it is front bar's opportunity.
We do it a little different. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. You know, you have to have a good team culture, and you have to have performance-based comes down to. But I feel like the esthetician should be the skincare specialist. You know, that's one lens to look through. In front desk, for us, it really came down to the memberships. We wanted to build up a recurring revenue model and have that secured revenue. So she's really focused on that. And I think we pay her maybe $20 per membership. And then we have different tiers, but let's just say, you know, she sells 20 of them a month at $150. If you do the math on what we're paying and look at it on an annual recurring revenue standpoint, like, it's a 20-to-1 return. And they're super happy, so we just divide it and conquer that way.
Any other questions?
Kind of going off of that question, so if the client comes back and purchases the product, even if they don't have a treatment, just coming in to refill, would you give the commission to the front desk, or would you give it to the person who originally sold it?
We look at how much assistance they need. If they're coming in, they know exactly what they want, we don't give the commission. But if they're coming in, they need some guidance or more recommendations, it's whoever's helping them in the moment, whether it is the provider, whether it is the front desk.
Awesome. Well, that's our time today. Thank you so much, everybody.